Good morning, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service this morning. Glad all of you could join us. Let us begin, for those of you who have your books with you, on page 70 with the singing of Kol Hanshama Tehallel.
Oh, Hanshama, Tehallel, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Oh, Hanshama, Tehallel, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Oh, Hanshama, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Oh, Hanshama, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah.
Page 75. May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, and who clothe the naked, and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest. On 74, Matovu.
Matohu, Tohu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkelotecha Yisrael, Va'ani berachastecha, Avovetecha, Eshtacha Kokochecha, Yeratecha, Adonai Ahti, Meon Betecha, Umekam Mishkan Kevodecha, Matovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishketecha Yisrael, Mishketecha Yisrael.
Page 86. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. On page 105. Yishtabach Shemcha la'ad malkeinu ha'el hamelech hagadol v'hakadosh v'shamayim uva'aretz. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El melech gadol b'tishbachot, El hahodaot, Adon haniflaot, habocher b'shirei zimra, melech melchei ha'olamim. Praise to you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty. Page 108. Please rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch hu et Adonai, Hamevah Torah, Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Vaed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvore choshech, oseh shalom, uvore et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uftuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh breshit. Marabu ma'asecha Adonai, kolam b'chokhma asita, malach ha'aretz kenyonecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, v'al me'orei or she'asita yafa'arocha sela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. On page 112, how deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion, on account of our forebears, whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life. Be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, focus our minds on your mitzvot, unite our hearts in love and reverence for your name. Then we will never feel shame, never deserve rebuke, and never stumble. Having trusted in your great and awesome holiness, we shall celebrate your salvation with joy. Gather us in peace from the four corners of the earth and lead us upright to our land. For you, O God, work wonders. You chose us. Truly, you drew us near to your great name, that we might acknowledge you, declaring you one in love. Praise be you, Adonai, who chooses your people Israel in love. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated, and we continue with V'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher nohim et tzavacha hayom alevavecha ve'shinantam levadecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha bevetecha v'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachvecha v'kumecha v'kishartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu latodavot b'neinecha v'kitavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
For us, this eternal teaching is true and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful. The God of the universe is truly our sovereign, the rock of Jacob, our protecting shield. God endures through all generations. God's name persists. God's throne is firm. God's sovereignty and faithfulness last forever. God's words live and endure, faithful and precious for eternity. From Egypt you redeemed us, freeing us from bondage. For that your beloved sang praise, exalting you. Your dear ones offered hymns, songs, praise, blessing, and thanksgiving to you as sovereign, the living and enduring God, high and exalted, great and awesome. God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moses, Miriam, and Israel responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming.
Mi kamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o sefer, nora tehilot o sefer. Shirach risha shebechu ge'olim, לשמך אספת הים, יחד כולם, הודו וקמלכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. So Israel, Kuma b'yazut Yisrael, U'techinu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Kolinu, Adonai tzavot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai,
Page 124, please rise for the tefillah.
Adonai, sefatai teftachu b'yagi techilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Tu melech chasadim tovim, ve'konei hakol, ve'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, u'mevii gula lifnei bneihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מושיע פרעה ומוריד הגשם. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני אהבה. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומנו, מלך תמיד ומחייך ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמנתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
We remain standing for the Kedusha on page 130.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו הוא מלכינו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated and let us continue on page 132 with Yismachu.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי, מקדשי שובי שבת. כולם ישבעו, יתגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
The people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. Observing the Sabbath throughout the generations is a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Hachenu.
Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Ritziv v'mnuchatenu, Hachenu b'mitzvotecha, V'tein chilkeinu b'toratecha, Samenu mituvecha, V'samchenu b'shuvatecha, V'tahel benu le'avdecha be'emet. והנהיגנו Adonai Eloheinu be'ahav ratzon Shabbat kodshecha ve'anuchu ba'Yisrael mekadshei shamecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Hashabbat.
I'm on page 137. Ever present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levatcha v'yirah na'avod. 138. Modim anachnu lach she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. A prayer for peace, Psalm 141. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Let us continue now with a few moments of silent private prayer.
Leratzon Imri Imrefi Vegion Levi Lefanecha Adonai Tzuri Adonai Tzuri
And it is our private prayer and our public prayer that we will all be able to get vaccines, that it will make a difference, that this virus will no longer rule our lives. We pray for all those who are suffering, all those who are helping them. Please turn to page 253 for the prayers for healing. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel ve'Leah, Hu Yivarech et hacholim. And we mention, in addition to all those who are suffering from the coronavirus, And every day we hear of more and more people that we know personally. We pray for those and mention those who are helping them and putting their own lives and health at risk. We pray for all those who are suffering in the horrendous situation that we're in now. We mention in particular as well members of our congregation who aren't doing all that well. Ralph Einstein, Sophie Pollock, Terry Neese, Debbie Hamburg. And if there are others, and I know there are, say their name out loud or in your heart as we pause for a moment and sing this Misha Berach together.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha May source of strength who blessed the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishabel imoteno mekor habracha bless those in need of healing with the full Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for all those who are ill. May their health be restored, their strength revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. We also pause for a moment to offer a prayer of thanksgiving on behalf of those who are feeling better, whose lives are no longer immediately challenged. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shegimalanu kol tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has bestowed every goodness upon us. And may the one who has bestowed goodness upon us continue to bestow every goodness upon us forever. A few comments about this week's Torah reading. Given all that we have been taught over the ages, we would see as the center part of our Torah reading for this week the 20th chapter of Exodus, which we would refer to as the 10 Commandments. I put it in such an awkward way because if you look at a Torah scroll or any really older document that has the book of Exodus in it, there aren't chapters, they came later, and nowhere is there sort of like the title of a chapter or an introduction saying, behold, here begins the 10 Commandments. In fact, that is a concept we have sort of imposed on the text. And in the Jewish tradition, and open parentheses in the Christian tradition as well, close parentheses, there has been through the ages a little bit of a disagreement as to how you number the first few. Is the beginning statement, I am the Lord your God, is that a commandment, or does the commandment begin later? It really doesn't matter when all is said and done, but I want to bring up this approach from a sort of, I don't know, historical perspective, that not only do we have the account here in Exodus, but there's a comparable account in Deuteronomy. I say comparable because why do we celebrate Shabbat? Is it because God rested or because we were slaves in Egypt? The traditional answer, of course, is both and. It's not one versus the other. It doesn't have to be that way. But if we look at the text itself, and here is the text of what you could call what's in the Torah scroll, the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, there are no references specifically to what we would translate back into Hebrew as 10 commandments. A commandment is a mitzvah. Mitzvot, are there 10 mitzvot referred to? No. Now, the closest we have is Aseret HaDvarim, the 10 words of the 10 proclamations. This occurs in Deuteronomy 4, where you have the Deuteronomy version, Exodus 34, and Deuteronomy 10. And that's about it. And if you didn't have, and if I didn't have that presupposition of thinking of this is important and perhaps more important than anything else, if I were to read from one end of the Bible, what Jews call the Bible, to the other, I'd find next to no references, except we have been taught to read this in a special way. And I'm not arguing against that, I'm arguing for it. And I'm arguing in favor of not just the 10, but all 613, thinking rabbinically. And I'm trying to say that we need to understand this in its larger context. I look back at my own history, and I want to say I am very glad, relieved, and so forth, that there are certain battles I have not had to fight here in Longboat Key, but I had to fight in previous congregations. Or not just congregations, I should say communities, though it affected the congregation. One particular example was, should the 10 Commandments, and what they meant by 10 Commandments isn't what I mean, be on a plaque, on a stone, in front of the courthouse? For those of us who are committed to the separation of church and state, this is something that we would gently but powerfully oppose. And I would also oppose that what was put in front of the courthouse, and the courts ruled it was okay, the same thing that was in front of many courthouses throughout this country, dates back to the time of that famous movie by Cecil B. DeMille, The 10 Commandments, where each one is put in its abbreviated form. Remember the Sabbath day, but not the whole half paragraph. Honor your parents, mother, father, father, mother. It appears different ways in different places, and the rabbis come up with good reasons for it. But the details are left out. It's almost an abbreviated thing. So for those of us who want to take the biblical text really seriously, and not seriously in the sense of having to impose an abbreviated version on the courthouse, we look at things differently. Now look at our sanctuaries. We have, and if we could do this differently, and we can't because we don't have the technical equipment, but if we were to do this properly, our camera would now focus on the wall over there, and you'd see an artistic representation of what the Shnei Luchot HaBrit, the 2 tablets of the law, actually looked like. But we don't know for sure. And different artistic representations throughout the ages, even within the Jewish world, have varied considerably. And that's okay too, because we do change and we do have a variety. But if I want to look at the 10 Commandments seriously, and I am making a political statement in every way, as one who is in favor of the separation of church and state, I don't necessarily want somebody to say, oh, it's your 10 Commandments and there's no reason why you should be opposed. Don't tell me how to believe and how to act. But on the other hand, there are things in the 10 Commandments that I would like everybody to take seriously, such as the commandment prohibiting murder. And I would extend that commandment to anyone who openly encourages or advocates murder. Now, there's one thing between saying you want somebody to be murdered and actually going out and doing it, but there's a continuum in a sense. And as I have said, I said it last night, I'm going to continue saying it. Anything that would get you suspended or expelled from high school or middle school should be prohibited in general society as well. So if I'm a middle school student and I say, I want our principal to be murdered because I don't like the politics or the personality or the fact that I only got a B plus and not an A on my test, I'm going to get in trouble for that. And that should be the same rule in our general society. Certain rules need to be applied. We are not trying to force the world to be like us. You don't have to be a Jew to win God's favor. So, for example, however traditional you are and decide that certain foods you're not going to eat, you shouldn't impose those dietary laws on other people. Similarly, we view, and I'm speaking very Jewishly, I think, Shabbat, as we understand Shabbat, is something that is ours. A day of rest, I would encourage, everybody needs it, and sometimes we need more than one day of rest, hence the weekend. And I love this expression, which I hear everyone say around here, have a nice weekend. It's part of our structure. It's part of our way of thinking. Though, how many people have to work on weekends? How many people have to keep their stores open or be working in their stores at that time? But we should keep a separation between what we see as specifically Jewish and what we would expect the entire world to do. And the entire world to live a moral and ethical life. We can argue about what that means, but among other things, you don't murder people and you don't try to encourage it either. Well, I could go on and on forever on this, and I've decided not to. That would be a fair thing, perhaps, to have a few of our classes on Tuesdays devoted to topics like this. It could be very fascinating, for example, and again, I'd have to have material that you would read in advance. We could distribute that easily enough given modern technology and see what the text actually says and what it doesn't say. Not just within the 10 Commandments, but throughout the entire biblical text, and even going beyond that into rabbinic literature itself. I don't mean the kind of thing of getting bogged down as to whether you can or cannot wash your hands or go swimming or what have you. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about the way we live our lives in society and relate to our fellow human beings. So when we hear people who want to put the 10 Commandments everywhere, in every school, in every courthouse, and so forth, but at the same time support people who proclaim it's right to murder people, there's a bit of a problem. And I think I can say this quite openly without fear of offending anyone, at least within our community, though I know I would offend others, but then any stance that we take on any sense of values is going to be upsetting, and we have to know where we stand as Jews on this issue. Let us hope that we can educate ourselves. And I'm hoping that what we are doing right now with our services, with our classes, with all our extra programs that we're bringing to you, we can expand our Jewish horizons. I said before, and I'm adding a little extra something, and a pep talk and a push for participation, but I know I'm speaking to preaching to the choir, as they say. We are under an obligation to keep our communities alive. Temple Beth Israel in particular, but the Jewish world in general. We cannot allow this pandemic to cause us to give up. We have to fight no matter what. However we perform our services, whether it's via Zoom or what have you, it is still better than not having a service at all. I hope everyone realizes that. And even those who don't attend, I hope there is a sense of appreciation that this is still happening. Part of the idea of belonging to a synagogue, where you pay your dues and everything else, but you haven't been in the building for a few years, there's a positive sense that there's the realization that it's there for you when you need it. You have to support it to make sure it's still there. I hope there's that realization that all of us are here for the entire congregation, and that this small minion of us, and if I count everyone who is on screen and everyone who is in the house behind us and everything else, we do add up to enough people. But I hope we realize that we are creating a new form of Jewish worship, and this is what will get us through these dark days. And may we see the day very, very soon where we'll have our soft opening in the sanctuary, followed by our grand opening. The soft opening will probably be just a service. The grand opening will be a service followed by the most elaborate Oneg Shabbat we've ever had, and special prayers of rededication. I'm looking forward to this with enthusiasm. Let us now continue and conclude our service, page 282, and please rise as we continue with Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach le'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. A prayer before the Kaddish. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We remember the recently departed Martin Ross, Al Grossman, Norman Gross, Mildred Field, Marco Colville, B. Einstein, Florence Haar, Barbara Gelber Moskowitz, Dolores Schuldinger. We remember those whose yahrzeits occur at this time: Bernard Blankenheimer, Rose Axelrod, Miriam Benjamin, Etta Feldman, Sidney Flansbaum, Rose Freund, Shirley Goldman, Dottie Grossman, Robert Hainsfurter, Elliot Haidt, Ernest Hochfelder, Bertram Horowitz, Jean Crum, Arthur Cushion, Lillian Levinson, Judy Markstein, Ruth Menon, Lillian Salk, Herb Schwartz, Robert Smith, Philip Seufer. And we remember also all those whose names are not on the list but are near and dear to us as we turn to page 294 and rise for the Kaddish. Yit Gadal Vit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Alma Divrach Rutei, V'Amlich Malchutei, B'chayechon of Yomechon, U'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, B'galah U'bizman Kariv, V'imra, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Le'alam U'l'almei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'tromam V'taseh, V'tadar V'talei V'talal, Shmei Dekutsha Rechu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran ve'alma ve'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. May the source of peace grant peace unto those who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us. And let us all say, Amen. Please be seated, and I'm going to call on Alan Goldfarb for some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Kai, again for your beautiful accompaniment. We have some very good programs lined up for this coming week. And I'd like to start off on Monday, February 8th. We're going to have our book and brown bags session, which will be held via Zoom at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, the 9th, Rabbi Snyderman's Judaism class, again, will be held via Zoom at 11 a.m. And each week it's getting bigger and better. And this week we look for a very good turnout. Later on in the day at 2 p.m., we're going to have our TBI Executive Board meeting. On Wednesday, February the 10th, Miniversity via Zoom at 2 p.m. with Rabbi Simon. On Thursday, February the 11th, the endowment meeting via Zoom at 10:30 a.m. and later on in the evening at 7:30 p.m. our regular scholar in residence, which we have every year, but this one will be presented again at 7:30 p.m. and this will be with Rabbi Daniel Cohen. And we expect a very big turnout for this particular session. On Friday, please pick up your Shabbat meals at 3 to 3:30 in the parking lot. At 5 p.m., we have our regular social hour. And again, which this seems to be one of our great events every week. We all look forward to it and we all enjoy participating. This will be held again at 5 p.m. Via Zoom. At 7 p.m. via Zoom again, we have our Friday Shabbat service. And again, if you wish, you can see it later on YouTube or Facebook. And a week from today, on the 13th at 10 a.m., we'll have our regular Shabbat service and Torah study via Zoom. And again, if you wish to see it later, you can see it on YouTube and Facebook. I know I say this every week, and again, it's very, very important that we all continue to wear our masks. And if you get the first vaccination, please continue wearing that mask and maintaining your social distance. We look forward for everyone to have a good weekend together. And we all look forward, right? We're all smiling on that one, right? We all say that. We all look forward to seeing you next week at our Shabbat service at 10 a.m. Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Thank you. Let us conclude with the singing of Ein Kelohenu, page 322.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkenu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mikelohenu, Mikadonenu, Mikemalkenu, Mikamoshienu, No Elohenu, No Deladonenu, No Delemakenu, No Delemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Makenu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Makenu, Atahu Moshienu.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yifunecha. Yisar Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God protect us and bless us and keep us healthy and strong. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.